And my hair's messed up. Look at that, sticking up. And here I am. Let's see what we're doing here. Posted some interesting songs in Discord. Some Russian kind of Orthodox rap music. Very, very kind of, one could say, somewhat nationalist. You know, like, there's one song in the lyrics. Unfortunately, it doesn't have closed captioning, or it's not dubbed, but some of the lyrics are like, you came here to work, so you've worked, now go home, and stuff like that. And I was just sitting there like, damn, okay, all right. Now maybe the Russians need to share that attitude with the rest of Europe, and the Europeans will pull their heads out of their ass. I doubt it, though. And yes, I know I'm starting off a little bit political, but not really, because this ain't about left, right. It's just about, hey guys, how about you not, allow yourselves to be destroyed, because that's not cool. Oh, Alexander sent me a thing. Oh yeah, because I sent Alexander the Russian rap song about Orthodoxy, and so he was just sitting back being like, all right, I mean, I'm not going to say what he said or whether he liked it or not, because I'm not that kind of guy. I probably shouldn't have even mentioned that he mentioned it, but I was just surprised, and I have a tendency to diarrhea at the mouth sometimes. So I know my homie in Ireland liked it, though, so there you go. My homeboy in Aaron's Isle liked it. And I told him, I said, hey, we need to figure out a way. Not that I would ever agree with the RCC. I'm not going to, because, we have differences, right? But that doesn't mean we couldn't ally with them a bit. Big James and Daniel, what's up? So, and what I mean by ally is just that, like, okay, so you're Roman Catholic and I'm Eastern Orthodox, but there's bigger fish to fry out here than than the fact that you effed up the filth, or whatever, right? I mean, at a point, the Catholics, whether they're Orthodox or Roman, need to kind of get together, and maybe if we can drag some of the Protestants in here too, be like, look, guys, I mean, the time is short. The fires on the mountaintops have been lit. Minas Tirith is under siege. So let's stop being assholes with each other. But so anyway, made a couple videos. I put one out today. There's already one lined up for tomorrow. I might make another one for the next day. Just have them lined up. I will be out of town in a couple of weeks. Probably have my computer with me, but I probably will be so busy just doing badass, awesome, amazing stuff up in Kentucky that I won't be worried about it. So yeah, I might just make a bunch of. They're all of the Willet Hyperborea. Thank you, Mike, for that. And I was going to do Castle, Castille d'Ambert, however you say it in French, but I got kind of sidelined and decided to do the U1 and 2 and 3 series. And honestly, when you think about the fact that there's already an adventure, Port Greeley, and then you look at the U series, Sinister Secret of Salt Marsh, etc., it's kind of the same vein. You've got like pirates, bad guys, deep ones, even though D&D like to call them Sahagin, or so. However, I say it's Sahagin, but I'm not saying that's the right way to say it. But let's just say deep ones, right? And all this other stuff going on, you know, since U1's already out, and I'm sure anyone who wanted to watch it probably already has, yeah, I mean, that's a perfect setup for a Hyperborea game, The Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. And I keep saying this, and I'll keep repeating myself. When I say these creatures don't exist in Hyperborea, I would replace them with some other creature. That is not like some kind of writ on stone thing. If you want bugbears and goblins to exist in some specific location on your Hyperborean continent, knock yourself out, guys. You know, maybe I'm just being a bit of a purist. Look at this ho 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 MFer over here.
What's up?
Oh, and as far as the power dynamic thing I put in the title, that's really easy and quick. I was listening to this song called Claim You by Rootless Romance, which is apparently AI music written by a bunch of, you know, women who like to read stories about, you know, 50 Shades of Grey type stuff. And just DM Deadlands. I love Deadlands. 8 face cards when, oh my God. So that guy had like die 10s and die 12s and die 8s all over the place. And depending on the suit, 1 to 4 of them. So yeah, that's awesome, Jack.
Did you like my Hungar seal of approval that Code Iron Skillet made for me last night?
Right. You know, he made a sticker that people can download, and it's just me in a white suit.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know why anybody would want it. But the power dynamic thing is somebody questioned about it because, you know, I guess because of being Orthodox or something. And I wanted to put this out there. If you're married to somebody and you want to mess around with little sub-dom stuff, that's between you and you. Not that I would. I'm not into that shit. But I'm just saying. So I listened to a song about a guy being kind of away with a woman. But it's like, if it's his wife and she consents to him being that way, then I mean, shit, mind your business. You know what I'm saying?
Holy shit, Jack. That dude got
2
all
die
the stuff.
12, 5. Oh, man. See, depending on his class, if I were a gunslinger, I would definitely throw that 5 die 10 into reflexes or agility or whatever, the one that covers pistoleering. And then I would put the 2 die 12 probably in the one that was quick draw. Because, I mean, being a good quick draw is awesome, but you got to be able to hit the target. A 3 die 12, 4 die 10. I mean, that's still amazing, though. And 3 die 12 is really good, but 4 die 10 is better than 3 die 12, in my opinion. And I'm glad that you're actually, it looks like maybe playing the right version of Deadlands instead of the Savage World version, because the Savage World version, God bless them, they make the game so simple that that's my whole problem with Savage Worlds. It's barely more complicated than some of these supposedly simple skirmish games I play. And when I play a role-playing game, I want depth. You know, D4 into vigor, played as a living corpse of, oh yeah, like I could already see like a Doc Holliday thing. You know, vigor D4, so he's got the lung disease, mama. He's got the black lung, you know, like what was it? I got the black lung, Papa. What was that?
That was
Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name
He's
of the
playing
movie.
the supermodel. I got the black lung, Pops.
Blue Steel and Montego.
Yeah, and it's like they're all the same look.
Newlander.
Anyway, no, that character. I mean, a 4 die 10 in your shooting skill. Yeah.
Zoolander.
Because Deadlands has exploding dice. So, I mean, you know. Yep, it's good to be quick. And I've read a lot of those old Western, like Time Life Western books. And they had like quotes that were supposedly from the actual gunslingers that lived back then. And one thing they all agreed with is being quick is awesome, but it's better to hit. So, super fun game. Changing setting for the full game. The only one who survived anyway, that Jack is, you could say, either a problem or a feature of Deadlands.
Yeah, you got the whole quick and the dead.
Yeah, which is as it should be. You're playing a game where it just drop the supernatural bullshit for a second and think about guys facing off with 44 mags, at like 30 feet. I mean, people are going to die, let
Yeah.
alone when the wild preacher comes busting in the door with a double barrel. It's like, okay, So, not a game I would suggest a lot of people get super attached to their characters, but still an amazing good game. Hungard played. Oh man, we had so much fun with that game.
I love Wild West games, Weird West games. I
I
like
remember
West
buying
games.
Deadlands when it first came out.
Yeah, we could barely understand how to make characters. And what do
Oh,
you
it
mean
took us
we
a
need
while
to?
to figure that shit out, but once
What do
we
you mean we
figured it
need a
out,
deck of cards?
yeah, because that was so weird. It was like, so we need these dice, and we also need like cards, like two decks of cards. It was like, okay. And then I actually bought the Deadlands cards, which I have, but they're missing like one freaking card from Spades. So that sucks. And then, man, I bought the box set for the City of Los Angeles and the California Maze, all that shit. That's so. I don't know why they changed that game. I have no idea why they wanted to change it because they could have just kept putting cool shit out for that game until now. If they, had anybody there that had any sort of creativity or anything.
Yeah.
And when I played, because as Jack and the rest of you know, I'm super imaginative. My character was always basically just the man with no name, or Josie Wells, pretty much. You know, because like I said, I'm super creative. I'm creative.
You're creative.
What is that even from? But
Wayne's World with
yeah,
one of his buddies that worked like the cameras talking to the sponsor's wife. Of course you are. You're creative.
right. So I always laugh about that when people are always coming up with their like super creative, like nothing to do with the stats. He just didn't pick fights with stuff he shouldn't have and got by on being menacing. Hey, there you go. 3 damage dice. The game ended. Well, there you go. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's true of any modern game, whether it's, Deadlands, freaking Boot Hill, all the way up to like Traveler. If you want your character to live, you kind of got to think about, should you really be getting into this fight? And how are you getting into this fight? I mean, one thing, having ran a lot of Traveler, that players, and they learned this also from Twilight 2000, learn really quick, is you don't pick a fight with somebody if you don't have cover somewhere. It's like standing in the open, firing your submachine gun at somebody. That is just a good way to get roasted, you know, and sent screaming. So, yeah, you don't want to do that. Players, because D&D, you know, is D&D, meaning you'll stand in the middle of an open area chucking arrows downrange at people who are doing the same thing. If you take that D&D attitude into like a game where there's firearms and relatively realistic firearm rules,
Yeah,
you're not gonna last very long. you know,
you're gonna die.
you're gonna die. Because you're not standing in the middle of the dungeon, swapping 30-6 rounds at somebody. Somebody's gonna die quick.
Yeah, you get the whole bad news, buddy. They gone. But look at the good news, buddy. They
They
gone.
go. I love that. The cat. He's like probably my second favorite character in that whole run.
Well,
And you know who my first favorite character is?
Rimmer.
Rimmer.
The hero.
Rimmer's the freaking hero of Red Dwarf. I don't care what anyone says. Happened to a player. He tried to do a quick draw shootout in the middle of the street. Yeah, like high noon or some shit. And that's, if you're not really good, it's just a good way to die. Kind of reminds me of, what was the movie where you had the one goofy guy from Brotherhood Art there in the white suit? He goes
Buster
out into the
Scruggs.
street to fight the one dude, and dude shoots him right in the head.
Buster Scruggs.
Yeah, it's just like, bam, and he's just standing there with a hole through his hat. Look, no matter how good you are, there could be someone out there better. There is actually, in Deadlands, there is someone out there better. His name is Stone. And if you F around and you piss the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse off enough, Stone comes. And when Stone shows up on his dead-ass horse, because he's dead too, people are going to die, I don't know if you read deep into the lore and everything, but basically anytime heroes get their grit really high to where they're like an actual threat to the Deadlands, they send Stone to straighten that shit out. And he's the dead guy with kind of the top hat thing, that square top hat thing on the cover with the 2 long colts. Yeah, you don't want to mess with Stone. He's like Wyatt Earp. You tell him hell's coming, or I'm coming, and I'm bringing hell with me. That's like exactly what Stone is. He is coming, and he is bringing hell with him. Literally. So tomorrow's video, which should post around noon, is the Forbidden City, I believe. And that's the advanced D&D one where you go into a jungle, rainforest area, and you fight in a forbidden city where there's a bunch of basically serpent men and whatever. And I explained how I would change it. And we're like the latest 2 videos, I've actually added the coordinates on the Hyperborea continental map where I would think about setting adventures, And that one I would probably set in the Boreal Coast because that's where all the jungle type rainforest shit is.
I hyped your video you just put out.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, yeah, that's just kind of so I knock those out. When I do those, I'm usually not sitting here. I'm usually on my other computer because I, can do other stuff on it. And that's why you don't see my face. You just see like the little Hyperborea thing talking while I'm thumbing through the. But I have so many of the homies have made requests for adventures, and my biggest problem with it right now is that I don't know if maybe Ravenloft wouldn't Hyperborea too well, just because. But if it's a basic expert D&D adventure, and most of the older advanced D&D adventures, it's like it's what's it, the one Ryan George says, so easy it's barely an inconvenience. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
How do they get out of this problem? Easy, barely an inconvenience. And that is a thing. I mean, oh, you must be talking to someone else.
That's Corn Dog talking.
Had a bounty hunter player who was basically the same. Yeah, I was so deep into Deadlands back in the day, and this would be in the 90s, that I bought the green ones too, like it was like Deadlands, the post-apocalyptic game, and on the cover it had like a dude riding a motorcycle, but he still had the cowboy hat and the 6 shooters. Barrel maze would work freaking infinitely awesome because all you need to do is set it in the swamps north of Cremorium. And since Barrel Maze uses a lot of Egyptian gods and stuff like that, you don't even got to change shit. Maybe if there's goblins and certain humanoids like that, you might have to ditch them. But the undead, I mean, Hyperborea has more undead on it than it does living humans.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a big dungeon in the middle of a swamp full of undead and Set and all that sort of shit. Hell, one of the deities you can worship, Yig, is also Apep/Set, because a lot of the deities in Hyperborea come from old Earth, and they have multiple names. So when you're dealing with the serpent god under Lovecraft, it would be Yig, but in Hyperborea, it could be Yig, Apep, Set, uh, pretty much any serpent god from old Earth. Biomaze for third edition right now. I don't have it for 3E. I have it for OSR or OSE, because this is before Greg Gillespie made his own game. But he put out like the Ultimate Barrel Maze or the Complete Barrel Maze hardbound, and I bought it. It's like,
No, you didn't. You don't buy game stuff that you never use.
you don't know if I never used that. It's kind of like if I ask you, how many times have I ran B2 Keep on the Borderland, Haas?
Dozens.
But you don't know, because
I
B2,
know as me, but not as my character.
sometimes you didn't even know. Like when we started the Kaliningrad campaign, did you know that Stojanov Keep was the Keep on the Borderland?
Keep on the borderlines, yeah, I knew that.
Okay, well, you got it then. Well, that's a beautiful thing. And I mean, third edition, I'm not going
It's
to talk shit
great.
about third edition. We ran a shit ton of third edition for years.
Third edition is great. My ex and her husband and my daughter still play third edition like
Yeah,
3 times a
Haas's
week.
wife and her boyfriend play third edition all the time.
Yeah.
Did you get what I did?
No.
I said your wife and her boyfriend. I said that
Uh-huh.
because I was talking shit on Twitter like years ago, and some guy jumped into the thread and was like, dudes, he knows what he's talking about. Believe me, I'm dating his wife. I was just like, you
I remember that, and you were just like couldn't come up with anything except
I
well
was just
played,
like,
sir.
all I could do is like, okay, you cooked me. I'm roasted, man. I mean, it's like, how are you going to come on my thread in the middle of my argument, agree with me, and then talk about sleeping with my wife? You bastard. It's like, it's like, I don't even know how to handle that. I'm just going to go lay down for a while. But pretty much 3.5 and forward, you can do whatever you want with. I mean, yeah, 3.5 adds a lot of bullshit that some people, purists, may not like. But you can run any TSR module with 3.5. Heaven knows I have. It hadn't got quite so different yet. But I've said this a million times. I've said a million more probably before, uh, anything stops me from it. I don't like 3.5 past like 10th level, though. So that's my conceit for 3.5 Dungeons and Dragons. I cast
Well, the
levels at
sweet
like
spot,
10 or 12. 10 or 12 levels cap.
the sweet spot for 3.5, in my opinion, is like level 5 to like level 12.
Yeah, I agree. Between 5 and 12 is like where you have so much fun. Everything's, doing its thing.
Yeah, you're a badass, but there's still shit that can kill you.
Yeah, I've had lots of guys that I gamed with that would specifically be like, okay, I'm going to run this game and I want everybody to make like a level 20 character. And I'm just like, yeah, no. No, nope,
Yeah,
not
I'm
doing it.
good. Don't
Yeah.
need it.
Yeah, that's basically it, too. I'm not even trying to be mean. I'm just like, nah, I'm good. And that was the other thing, Jack. We played core books and the book of whatever evil, Vile Darkness, and I think that's about it, really, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
because
mean,
people would try to be bringing in these other books and try a bunch of stupid stuff.
Yeah, we all know the story of the particular person too. I've told it. Guy shows up with a copy of like Blade and Harp or some shit and decides he wants to use feats out of this thing, but hadn't told me. And this is okay. A reason a lot of old school and D guys don't like 3.5 or 4E is because it become like a game where the player was more in charge of things. But like in my game, I'm not actually in charge of things, even when I'm running AD&D. I am the arbitrator. The players are in charge of what they do. I'm in charge of what can happen. So, don't come at me being like, it's in the book, so I can do it. If it's not even a book I approved, like if I approved the book, then it'd be like, cool. Because when we played AD&D First Edition, I let Hungar use AD&D Second Edition Dwarf book.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to play a Battle Rager or some shit. And I was like, fine, whatever. That's cool. But I mean, like I said, the gamers part two, they even make a whole thing out of it. How the DM's like, the only monks in my world are European style monks. And the guy's like, I'm an elf monk and I'm wah, and they fight about it. And eventually the DM just says F it and lets him do it. And the underlying story there, though, was that the player should have respected the fact that the DM had created a world in which there were no Asian monks. And just because they're in the book doesn't mean you can play them because they're not in his world. But I don't know. I wouldn't have stopped it though. Last time we played AD&D, our bro was playing a monk. We
Yeah.
played Greyhawk. Not only was he playing a monk, but he was using a thunder hammer, which between you, me, and the fence post is just a flail. It's just like a silk cord with a weight on the end of it. It's like, yeah, it's a flail. I mean, okay. I mean, he thought it was really special, though. He really loved it. Him and his thunder hammer. And it's like, well, you can use a flail. Okay. Whatever. Most players are pretty easy to please if you know how to go about it. You know. Especially since his character, everything he wanted that would be considered weird, it wasn't anything that would ever affect gameplay. It was always like some kind of cosmetic thing. Like the fact that he had a thunder hammer didn't affect gameplay. It just meant he was using a flail and calling it a thunder hammer. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's we're lucky to have a really good game group.
Yeah. I was talking to Shadow about, and he's talking about the PvPing and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, my game group is full of a bunch of anti-heroes and jerks. But when combat goes off, that's when all the effing around stops. And the players pull together and actually start.
Yeah, I don't see us as PvP in each other. I see us as playing tricks, trickology.
Technology. Well, as a Hyperborean, according to the NOI, yeah, you would be a master of technology because you're like the whitest bastards on the planet. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So Yakub invented you specifically to technology, everybody darker than you, which is everybody because you're an albino. So yeah, we had a guy like that, and for the longest time, this guy and I were like super close. And don't cry for me, Argentina. But what happened is he basically just found another game group and decided to ditch our game group, and which was kind of weird. I guess if I were a bitter guy, I'd say it's kind of a betrayal because after he found this other game group full of asshats, he contacted the players in our game group and tried to convince them to move to his game group. Now, no one did, but the fact that this is a guy I'd known for 30 years and was the best man at his wedding, and he was so petty, kind of pissed me off a little bit, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, And his main beef was he always wanted to run the game,
But he
but
sucked
none of the other players wanted him to.
because he was the game killer. We'd be playing the best game on the planet. He'd take over for one session, and next week half the people wouldn't even show up.
Yeah, that kind of was his nickname, the game killer. And then after he decided to, well, his wife never liked me either, but it was because she was jealous because he spent a lot of time hanging out. And some women get jealous of their husbands actually having male friends,
His
which is
wife didn't
weird
really
too.
like him. His wife don't really like him either when he got her favorite character killed.
Right. But it's weird. There are women out there who just don't like the idea of their husbands having friends. Makes no sense to me, but whatever, right? So this guy ended up joining my homeboy Bubba's game and got kicked out of that. And from what I know about Bubba, he's like a straight up bro. So to get kicked out of one of Bubba's games, you probably had to do something pretty. Well, one thing this guy did, since we're just talking a little shit, and since Jack brought it up, everyone knew we were playing a Slavic based kind of a journeying around the frozen north exploring game. He made a city type character and then tried to force the game to mold to what he wanted, including all the other characters. And I went along with it, to a point, but it was kind of rude of him to do that. It's like we all knew what we were doing. Everybody made appropriate characters, and then you show up with some Ponzi freaking duelist.
My favorite was when he made the mage, and I don't remember his first name, but he named him something the chaotic. And he's just running around yelling, "I am so and so the chaotic," and then he got lynched because he kept on pretty much saying that he was evil.
Yeah, he kept running around the village being like, I'm so and so the chaotic. And they lynched his head. How about when the orcs were attacking and he like tried to bury himself in the snow and just ran up and hacked him to bits? And he's
Yeah,
just like, they saw me, and it's like, no shit. They were literally 40 feet away, and you just dropped on the ground, and started throwing snow on yourself.
there's never really been a lot of PvP in our games except when he was playing, and then like some people that played in our games would like just like pee on his corpse and shit.
That wasn't cool though.
Cool? No. Deserved? Possible.
Yeah. See, I'm right with you, Jack. The other group that he ended up joining, I would never want to be a part of. Like, I went over there to meet with them because they wanted to meet me and talk to me and see if I'd run the game for them. So I kind of went over, like, an interview, let's say. And I was there for about a couple hours, and I immediately realized there's no way in hell I want anything to do with these people. Right? But when he talked to me, he was like, "Oh, these guys are super cool. We should hang out and do this." And I was like, "Nah. I think I'll just stay at the house with the players that show up every week, and
Without the book of erotic.
without the book of erotic fantasies, and without the dude with the beard claiming that everybody had to call him Tiffany or else." So there were more than one reason, and that person I had to have because they put on their they were all like, if you disrespect or misgender me, I'm going to come for your teeth or some shit. And I sent them a message and I said, come get these teeth, bitch. You know? So I already started that
That's
whole
on your Discord, dude.
still.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were wanting to be part of my Discord. So I had to let them know. And they're not part of my Discord anymore. But it's like you're going to threaten me if I don't say what you want me to say. That's just not going to work, that just ain't going to work for me. Sorry, and so it's not even that I'm like particularly like wouldn't have gamed with them. But I don't game with people that try to force me into shit. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't. I would have tolerated the mentally confused person if they had allowed me to tolerate them. But the fact that they weren't going to allow anyone to tolerate them, they were going to try and force the issue, made me not want to be anywhere near that.
When people try to force me to do something, makes me want to not do it.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, maybe it's that natural American rebelliousness, just the whole, I'm not doing it because you want me to do it. It's not that I care, because honestly, I don't really care either way. But I'm just not going to let you try to bully me and then whine about it's my problem. It's not my problem. So I stayed home as I should, like a good boy, and he went and did what he did, and there you go.
And
It worked
everybody
out
turned out
better
happy.
for everyone, really, didn't it?
Yeah, everybody's happy.
The bad players you run. Um, I can, and I know this is going to be hard for some people to believe. My brother, I think, can attest for this. I can be incredibly tolerant in certain situations. So when I was running like Adventure League at the local Costima Comics, I was super tolerant. As far as I wasn't talking shit, I wasn't doing anything. Even when players were being away, I was like, whatever. And
Because you know that's the situation that it's going to be like. You got to be tolerant in that situation.
right. I mean, I'm there doing a thing for someone that's kind of a friend that I've known for decades. So the last thing I'm going to do is try to start problems in the middle of a guy's store that I've known and ran games for 40 years, like, right? Um, so I'll put up with that. But like when it's just me, my tolerance for a lot of shit gets a little bit less because I'm like, I don't need this. Like seriously, I don't need this. I'll just go. I'll find my Solzhenitsyn, Dostoevsky, Lovecraft, whatever. I'll read that, and you guys can just do whatever you want. Actually, to be fair, mostly I read game books these days. But I'm
I'm
sorry you
like,
ran into those guys. I mean, where I live, like you go to like the north side of Kissimmee, south or east Orlando, and I swear to you, 99% of the people you meet, totally awesome, regardless of any particularities. Whether they're this way, that way, whatever, they're just typically really cool guys, and gals. And you show up and you play D&D or whatever you play, and it's really cool. But every now and then, there's just somebody who just can't let it be cool. It's like there's something in their head, and they decide, yeah, we've got to, I've got to make this as freaking awkward as possible for everyone. So the good thing about running Adventure League is it was only like a couple hours anyway. And if the Army taught me anything, it's that I can put up with about everything for a couple of hours. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah.
I've tried a lot of different tables, different groups, different DMs. I don't like any of them.
Well, I mean, you ran games though. You ran 3-5, right? And
Yeah,
aren't you running 3-5 or something now?
I'm not running anything now, but I'm getting ready. Once all the schedules and here at the house get situated, I'm going to run Hyperborea.
Oh, look at that. The brothers Hyperborea. Yeah, yeah. I have relatives that live up in Gainesville. Now, granted, Orlando, we have University of Central Florida, UCF, Golden
But
Knights.
it's really not like a college town. It's
But
not a
Orlando
college
is
town.
not a college town. But you go to Gainesville and it's just meth addicts, crackheads, and weirdos from the university wandering around. And it's like, you know, yeah, I don't need any part of that. When I do finally move to Kentucky, the one thing I'll be sad about is the fact that really the only one I'll have to game with is going to be Hoss and my wife. Maybe your stepson will show up sometimes or something. But a lot of, you know, a lot of the gaming will be done for me because I'll be up on my mountain doing mountain stuff. But it is as it should be, right? It's like it's like in feudal Japan. You would start out a way, then you'd become a samurai, and then when you got old, you'd become a monk. And it was just the way life, you just, oh, you're up in Canada at a college town. I'll take your word for it. I've been to Canada maybe twice, and I keep saying when I went, it was amazing. Granted, I went to Windsor, right across the border, and it was also like the 80s, 90s, that kind of era. And Canada was like great. I mean, it was before everything got stupid.
Yeah, it was the 90s here in America, so it's like the 70s up in Canada, eh?
Eh? Yeah, but they had like 100% full nudity and like
Most of ice,
everything
oh
you
shit,
wanted to drink was like freaking dirt cheap compared to like
and
because of
higher
the way the
alcohol.
money was and it had more alcohol and you could get pancakes or whatever. So it was like because my sister lived up in Detroit. So if you just wanted to go do some shit, it wasn't so far out of your way to just go across a bridge and just have a good time, man. I miss that old Canada because that old Canada was awesome. That
Yeah,
old Canada was like, you know, John, what's his name? He's in so many movies I love. The blonde haired guy played Uncle Buck.
John Candy,
Yeah, that was the John Candy, Rick Moranis, Dave Thomas era of Canada.
Dan Aykroyd, Canada.
Yeah, that was like the best Canada. Like, what was it, Kentucky Fried Movie or something when they tried to invade Canada? Dan Aykroyd. No, it was John Candy's just like, yeah, come on in, eh? It's like the Canadians just didn't even care. They're like, whatever.
Oh, you gotta sign a bit. I'm sorry, bud, but you're gonna have to put French on this side too. They
Yeah.
was talking about how wanted the downfall of Canada.
And then there was like freaking you had Rick Moranis and the freaking McKenzie brothers with the hockey players. You know, I mean, that was the
Strange,
best Canada ever.
yeah.
I absolutely missed that Canada. Yeah. I love the fact that the McKenzie's brothers' dad sounded like freaking Yosemite Sam. Go get me some beers and all that.
You better not be eating my jelly donut.
Yeah, better not be eating my jelly donut, you hosers. Yeah, I don't know if that Canada was real, but man, that was good times, man. Like everyone in America loved Canada. It was like,
You don't know how to drive a 17 speed. He's like, it's a truck full of beer. There's no way I'm gonna wreck this.
right. I miss that. I miss that about that era of my life, honestly. Like Canada and America were best friends, and like Australia and America were like best buddies. It was just the best back then. It really was. And Crocodile Dundee, we all loved that bastard. What's his name? Hogan, Mark Hogan or whatever. And yeah, so maybe what they need to do is somehow find a way to get like Dan Aykroyd elected to Canadian prime minister or something. That would be
Yeah,
cool. I mean, you can't do Mike Myers because he did that whole elbows up bullshit with Carney, and it's like, you loser, you live in New York. Stop. But they need to get somebody that's smart and really funny and get him in office so that he can like turn
yeah.
Canada
Mike
back
Myers,
into
that rich bastard just needs to shut up.
yeah. Get someone in there that can turn Canada back into the Great White North, eh? You
Yeah,
moose, you what? Yeah, hose head and, and all that shit. So good.
I'm excited that Rick Moranis is coming back to the movies for Spaceballs 2 in search
Well,
of more money.
well, Rick Moranis, the reason he left acting is like the most honorable, awesome reason
He
ever.
left to raise his kids.
Yeah, because of what went on with his family.
His
And
wife
when
died
I
of
heard that
cancer.
some asshole had attacked Rick Moranis in New York for no reason, I was like, well, that's right to the gulag with that guy.
Yeah, his wife died of cancer, so he quit. He stopped acting to take care of his kids, as he should have.
Right. He was also one of the best parts of Ghostbusters, too.
Yes,
You know, I am the key holder. Or whatever. Rick
I
Moranis.
am the gatekeeper. I am the key master.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, he was good in everything back then. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It's sad. But anyway, what else are we talking about? So I've discussed the fact that, yes, sometimes I listen to music that might seem away, but if it's between two consenting married adults, get off my back. And I've talked about TSR adventures and how easy they are to convert to using Hyperborea. I've said it many times, and apparently a lot of people are agreeing in comments. Hyperborea is better D&D than D&D is now.
Yeah,
It really is. It's like the rules are better. Everything's just better. It's just a better game. I mean, I could go into detail, but the problem is, unless somebody asks me something specifically, I have a hard time organizing my thoughts. I could ask my brother, what do you like about Hyperborea best? If you had to pick the one thing, and I mean rules, not setting rules, what do you like? Yeah, I put my brother on the
I
spot.
just I like the nostalgic feel of it.
Yeah, but that's not the answer I'm looking for, homie.
Well,
I want you to pick a rule that you interact with often that you think Hyperborea does better than other games do that same
the
action.
initiative role,
Huh?
the group initiative is awesome.
Well, that's just basic D&D.
Hmm. But as a
So
role,
you like that better than modern D&D. Okay, I'll give you that. Not really the answer or a answer I was looking for, but okay, I'll
well,
take it.
what answer do you want me to give you, bro? Tell me the answer you want, and I make sure I give you
No, no, what I'm
something.
saying is you do a lot of things in the game, right? Your character does.
Yeah,
That require you to make rolls and do things according to a rule.
yeah.
What is different about Hyperborea that you prefer over some other version of the game when you do a thing?
The magic is a lot different and badass.
Yeah, the magic is pretty awesome, ain't it? I'll tell you something. I like the fact that no class is truly bound to a limited like weapon allowance. Since fighters can get specializations, but then every other character, every 4 levels, can just pick a new weapon and know how to use it.
Yeah,
So your cleric could, well, I think you hit level 4, didn't you? That means you can pick a weapon of your choice that's not something your character started being proficient in and be proficient in it. Yeah, I don't know how old you are, Jack. I mean, I just turned 55, so yeah. Back when I was a kid, Canada was like other America. Like we liked them, they liked us, as far as I know. Everyone was cool. There was none of this
cross the
bullshit.
border with your driver's license or
Yeah, you
ID.
didn't even need a freaking. It was like, show me your ID. Go on. You know, it was like whatever, man. Like you could be. As a matter of fact, I ran into Canadians a couple months ago at a Bucky's because I'll start a conversation while I'm waiting in line to get Bohemian garlic jerky, right?
Hmm.
And this lady's there, and she said something like, "Man, there's so much," and I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty amazing, right?" And she was talking. I was like, "Are you from Wisconsin?" And she's like, "Actually, no, I'm from Alberta." And I was like, "Oh, you're Canadian." They're like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Awesome." And we chatted for a minute, and then I went on. But everyone's your buddy when you're in a Bucky's. That's just kind of
That's true.
you know. when you're in a Bucky's, you're all friends because a giant wall full of like 25 flavors of beef jerky will do that to any human being.
And pristine bathrooms
Pristine bathrooms, you could eat off the back of the damn toilets
with no lines to get to one because they
and no
got 1,000
lines.
toilets.
And everyone who works there treats you like they're your best friend. And there's just amazing food and everything at Bucky's. It is the
Unless you're a truck driver, then you can
unless you're a
fuck
truck
right
driver,
off.
because then you're not even allowed to go. It's like, oh, you drive a truck? Gone down the street to the PJs or whatever, you know? Yeah, anyone who comes from any other country to America, I would seriously recommend take your family and yourself to the nearest Bucky's. Just walk in there, look around for a little while. If you hate it, then you can always come back and be like, hey, James, you're an idiot. I hated it. But
Get
I just
yourself
can't
some.
imagine anybody hating it.
Get yourself some beaver nuggets and a brisket sandwich.
Oh, yeah. Beaver nuggets and a barbecue brisket sandwich. You'll be good, man. It's like, like my brother said, use the amazingly clean bathrooms with no lines. Check out the wall with freaking at least 25 flavors of beef jerky, if not more, you know. Or you can go to the counter and just buy specifically the big beef jerky and they wrap it in the paper for you. Like when me and my wife journey north, there's two Bucky's. Hey, what's up, Nerdy Ogre from the state of Bucky's? We got two Bucky's here, one on 75, one on 95. And it's kind of like almost a tradition now that whenever we're driving by the Bucky's, we got to stop at the Bucky's, you know.
Yeah.
Get some beaver nuggets or whatever. Got to grab some beef jerky. I like the Bohemian jerky. I like the Korean jerky. Maybe grab a sandwich or something. Mostly just walk around. Use the bathroom.
Smoked sausage out of stick. Can't beat that.
Right. I mean, when you've already been on the road for like 5 hours, you know, a stop at the Bucky's is just what you need, man. And you know what's funny is Bucky was a dog.
That is funny.
Yeah, the guy who actually created Bucky's, he made the beaver the motto, but the real life Bucky was a dog. It was his dog. And somehow or another, he said, yeah, I'm going to use a beaver.
All I know is Bucky's is the best.
It is. And I can't wait to stop at it next month when I'm on my way up to Kentucky. We'll stop and grab some jerky and something. I mean, and it is like, see, Nerdy Ogre comes from the freaking state that invented Bucky's. I might argue, though, that the Florida Bucky's are better because they're freaking huge. I mean, they are, you know. But I'm sure the Texas Bucky's are amazing, too. And so, yeah, in the future, even long after I might pass away, if this video is still on and anybody ever watches this, if you visit America from wherever you are from, go to a Bucky's, I swear. Go. And that means you too, Jack. If you ever find your way out of the Great White North down into the freaking America, you know, as the British call us, the colonies, visit a Bucky's if you ever are in a state where there is a Bucky's, if you haven't already. Because maybe you have. I mean, like I said, last time I was in the Bucky's, there were lots of Canadians there. Take a road trip just to go to the Bucky's. I know, right? And pretty much anything you can imagine ever wanting, you can find at a Bucky's.
Yeah.
You can get like a clock in the shape of whichever state you like.
You can get a Red Ryder BB gun.
You can get a Red Ryder BB gun. Anyway, I could go on for hours about the Bucky's. It is truly amazing. It is a truly amazing experience. I bet you if we brought a lot of people from like Europe and stuff that talk shit about America down and just set them loose in a Bucky's, they would probably been like, never mind, we love America. You know? They'd be like, how do you not love America? They got Bucky's. You know, it's like better than everything. There's literally nothing better than Bucky's.
With a wall of just pounds of beef jerky.
Yeah, that's the thing for me because I am a carnivore. Been some years. Well, if you ever slow down, Jack, and you ever get down anywhere in the South, cruise into the Buckies. You got a small one the size of, yeah, all of our Buckies in Florida are so big that it's like they're 200 yards across at least. And for you non-Americans, that's meters, 200 meters across. So pretty much like two soccer fields or some shit like that across either way. I mean, huge. Yeah, next time you get down here, make a point of it. If you got a family, take them. They'll love it. Kids and all. They'll love it. It's better than Disney. I would argue, as a person who lives in Florida, 35 minutes from Walt Disney World, I would rather go to a Bucky's,
Yeah.
you know? Because Disney's just, you sweat all day and you might ride 3 rides because you wait hours to get on a ride. And no one there, like that works there, wants to be there. And I never want to be there. Yeah, it's the worst,
The
man.
only reason I ever went to Disney was to get the smoked turkey leg, and I can get that at Walmart now.
The only reason I ever went is because somebody I knew had free tickets and was like, "Hey, you want to go?" And I was like, yeah, sure." Or to take the kids when they were young because you know that's
Oh
good.
yeah, I wouldn't pay to go to Disney.
Now it's like $100+ for a person to go to Disney.
Yeah, not counting parking.
Yeah, like a family of 5 going to Disney, you're going to drop $1,000 at least before.
Easy.
I mean, before you get on your first ride. It's like, nah, I'll go to Bucky's. I'd rather spend $1,000 on beef jerky. At least I can take that home with me, right? you know,
Yeah.
spend the rest of the freaking year blocking my colon up with beef jerky. That's fine. Just drink a lot of water.
They've already proven that's BS.
Well, I mean, just drink a lot of water. You'll be fine. Too much protein, if you're not drinking water, will F you up. I know for a fact. A guy I worked with did that. He was just doing nothing but drinking power drinks and freaking protein shakes, and his kidneys shut down.
Yeah, because he's drinking a shit ton of energy drinks and protein shakes.
Yeah, because protein in your bloodstream is sticky, and your kidneys are like a sponge. So if you don't get enough water in your system to flush that stuff through, it just gums up your kidneys, and next thing you know, you freaking pass out in the middle of a shift and die almost. And it jacked him up so bad that even though they got his stuff working again, his resting heart rate was like 100 beats per minute.
Hey, George.
George. And this is a guy that was like younger than me. And my resting heart rate is 60. His resting heart rate was like 100. It was like, dude. But because it happened on the job, you know, they had to waiver to keep him on because it's like, it didn't stop him from doing the job. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that is a fact, Nerdy Ogre. The only thing you can ever do in an extreme amount is have temperance. And that's kind of a paradox, isn't it?
yeah. I'm gonna let you go, brother.
Why? You've barely been on for.
We've been out going for a solid hour, and it's bedtime, fool.
What time is it?
10:18.
Oh, it is your bedtime, ain't it?
Yeah.
Well, get to bed then. I love you,
My
brother.
nightmares are kicking in.
Uh-oh. We'll have you crashing out. Where in the hell is freaking Bruce these days? I'm missing my bald buddy.
Hey, yeah, here. Well, George is here.
Well, of course, George. George. I think I send George messages on Discord and shit. We actually do communicate, George and I do.
And we got the nerdy goblin here.
Well, we've got the king of Palladium books. I used to like want to hate on it. I don't hate on Palladium anymore. I realize it's not my thing, but if it's your thing, then by all means, man.
And you know, the guys who own Palladium are just generally nice dudes.
I've seen them on Max's show,
Yeah,
and
I've
they
talked
do
to him.
kind of seem like the kind of dudes you would just kind of want to hang out with a little bit.
Yeah, I've talked to him a lot about um, recon.
Now, Recon was our game, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was our game. And what was your character's name?
Tyrone Katunga Brown
From?
from Mississippi, the pig gunner.
Yeah, the Pig Gunner with the Black Power freaking a hair pick. And I played the redneck from Kentucky. That was the point man. Man, we had so much fun with that game. I mean, except for that time when the guy running the game made me go in those tunnels and shit. That was not fun.
No.
It turns out being a tunnel rat is not an enjoyable experience, even in a role playing game. Still
No.
not great. Got the Orthodox. Yeah, yeah, that's some crazy shit, but I love it. And me and the Dark Hibernian were talking about it. And like I said, I was like, earlier on in this video, I was like, it might be time for some of us to put our doctrinal differences, not that I think we're wrong, we're not, aside, just for the greater good, because there's an actual threat to all of Christianity, and we need.
Greater good. Greater good.
Well, shut up. Trading places, yeah, good. That was
No, that wasn't trading. I wasn't doing trading places. I was
no,
doing
no. Nerdy
hot
ogre was.
fuzz.
Nerdy ogre was.
Oh,
Well, if you ever watched the Saint Nerdy ogre, there was one of the saints that was like, "Give me temperance and give me chastity, but don't give them to me right now." Or some shit.
all right, well, I love you, brother.
I love you too. I'll tell
See
you
you
what, if you
tomorrow.
read about the saints, more often than not, some of them are just hilarious.
Yeah.
They're just funny guys. Some of the shit they wrote was just like, there's a Russian saint, and this guy says, "What should I do to be a man?" The Russian saint's like, "Grow a beard." It's like, what? Because the guy didn't have a beard. The saint's just like, "Yeah, grow a beard." Like, but I love that. Give me chastity and give me temperance, but don't give them to me. Or it's patience and something, but don't give them to me right now, or something. It's like, but anyway, yep. So there you go, Nerdy Ogre. It's not that me and my brother hate palladium. It's just that the palladium we love is not necessarily the palladium you are most, into currently. Because the palladium we love involves, you know, being in Vietnam and trying not to get murdered by the VC and VA, whatever, Russians, while we're doing whatever we're doing, right? And I'll tell you, I've got the recon book on me. That's a deadly game too. Because like an M16, I think does like 4 die 10 damage, and it can attack like multiple times in one turn. You know, so yeah, you can end up just getting whacked by an AK M16 anything pretty quick if you're not. But that's what we are talking about at the beginning of the game when we are talking about Deadlands. Well, Recon's that way too. Modern combat rules should be deadly. Well, here's the thing though, Nerdy Ogre, if you and I lived in the area and you wanted to run a game of say Rifts and you were going to keep it really like focused, I'd probably love it. Like what you're talking about with the dog boy and the whatever, and I would probably love something like that. If I could find a Rifts DM that wanted to run like a Southwest Vampire Hunter game, yeah, I'd probably love that. Or a coalition versus the bug guys or whatever. I'd love that. But when I was invited to a Rifts game, unfortunately, and I know you'll shake your head and be like, yep, that's what did it. The guy running the game basically just handed out the rule book and was like, just pick whatever you want. And it was such a mess because you had like, I was playing a Samus pilot. You had another guy playing like some kind of gunfighter from some weird West world. like Weirdwood or whatever it was called. And one of the girls was playing a fairy, like a pixie or something. And then one of the other dudes was playing like a Robotech fighter type thing, a Veritech type thing. And it was just like, how's that going to work when like half of the group can't even be hurt by anything that's not MDC, and the other half of the group can be killed by a strong breeze? You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. If somebody doesn't die, you're either GMing wrong or you have a set of players who really understand the game and they're making sure that you don't catch them. You know, that's the two options. You're being too soft or you've got really good players. And I learned that from running Twilight 2000. If you play Twilight 2000, any edition, but God help you, fourth edition, because it's the hardest edition. If those players feel like they're just going to run around acting a fool, yeah, that's going to be a group wipe every time. Just every time. Forget about it. But if you've got some good players that actually understand, you know, how small arms work and small group tactics and cover and shit like that, they're going to do pretty good as long as, you know, the dice don't betray them. And sometimes that's just a thing that happens. And when it happens to you, all you can do is, like they say, when death smiles at you, all you can do is smile back, because the dice are going to be the final arbiters of your fate. At least when I run it and when the guys I played with ran games, it was always like, there was no like fluffing dice and whatever. I mean, you know, it was just, yeah, sometimes the dice are going to kick your ass. And that's just Murphy's Law, right? Whatever can go wrong will go wrong at the worst possible time. But yeah, I played. I ran Twilight 2000 second edition. Well, started with the box set for first, and we went to the second. And there were some guys I played with that just stayed dead, and it was because, one, they were civilians, and two, they never kind of shut the civilian mindset off. So they were always doing shit that anyone, even a civilian that kind of understands the way shit works in a war zone, would know not to do, you know. But these players would want to be like the cocksure guy that's going to walk down the middle of the street through the freaking burnout village in freaking eastern Poland. And then they get surprised when somebody with a PPK just unloads on them from ambush and kills them. It's like, well, why were you walking down the middle of the highway? That's dumb. As a matter of fact, unless you have to, because the vehicle you're in, you have to, you probably want to stay away from roads as much as possible, honestly, because if you're going to get ambushed anywhere, it's going to be on a road. You know, that's just basic. That's not even military shit. That is just basic common sense. Don't be hanging out on a road, because that's where whoever's out there will be looking for you. And there's not a lot of cover on a road. Even if there are some burnout vehicles here and there, you know, it's just not going to be enough. You know, you really want something a little bit more substantial, like concrete walls or a whole tree line or a ridge or something. You know, you don't want to just be standing around. And I can tell you this too, whether you know what PPK is or not, in every version of Twilight 2000, a PPK will straight kill your ass. It's pretty much the Russians' version of our M60 or M240 or whatever. If that thing gets on you and the guy and the GM rolls even moderately good, yeah, you're probably going to die. I mean, because imagine it's a machine gun shooting basically 30-6 rounds at you. It's not good. Yeah, hold this and walk down the street. Yeah. Like, that's a good idea if, like, the rest of the group hates you and they're hiding in the weeds with, like, a, you know, some bolt guns waiting to snipe somebody, send the idiot down the street and see what happens. Oh, man. That game. And the fourth edition is the worst, because in the fourth edition game, you can literally get killed by, like, random barbed wire. Not like directly, but you could be walking and like try to crawl over some old rusty barbed wire and screw it up and get yourself a little bit of a nick. And then if you F up and get infection and you don't have antibiotics or any medicine, yeah, recon by fire, exactly. Your character can get septic and just die. You know, now as anyone who actually reads about warfare and shit like that, they realize, yeah, that's pretty much realistic, right? If you get wounded out in the field and it gets infected and you don't have a way to deal with it, you'll probably just die. Now, if you're super smart and you've read a lot, you know one thing you can do is you can find a corpse and try to scoop some of the little squiggly wormy bits off of that corpse. You know what I'm talking about? Fly larva. And you can pack them on your wound and wrap it up. While that is absolutely disgusting, it will take care of the infection. And then you won't die. But you literally have those things in there eating your dead flesh. Blech, blech, you know. But beats dying, I would say, you know. Given a choice, I would say, yeah, that beats dying. I only know that because I read about a special forces dude in Vietnam that did that. Because he got hit and was super infected, and he ended up finding something that had those squigglers on it, and he packed them into his wound really good, and it worked. So that's a rough game, though. I love it. I've got 2 copies of the 4th edition and a couple copies of second, and a box set of first. And I love the game, but no one really wants to play it though, because it's like, so you want me to play a game where I'm in Poland or wherever the hell I am, and like literally everything will kill me? A lot of times players just aren't really into that, you know? Especially if you're like me and you have a lot of ladies at the table. I know this is going to sound surprising to some people, but it turns out that the ladies don't like to pretend to be soldiers in a post apocalyptic Europe where there's cannibals and shit running around trying to kill and eat you. It turns out they would much rather play clerics or healers or something in a fantastical world of magic and tomfoolery. And the ladies at my table are all good role players, good role players, and still they really don't want to play anything. It's like, I guess it's just a boy game. I know that's an unpopular thing to say these days in some circles, but a game like Recon, a game like Twilight 2000, those are boy games. A lot of women don't want to play soldier. Which is not to say that there's not some hardcore, maybe lesbian Marine out there that would absolutely dive at the opportunity to play those games. I'm sure there are. 100% sure there are. But most ladies are not going to be like super jived up about that. They're going to be like, nah, yeah, I can do without that. And that is why, my friends, I play so many fantasy games, because the people I game with, and there are women in the group, and I'm not going to force them to play games they don't want to play necessarily. They want to play fantasy games. They don't want to have their characters. I even have a hard time getting them to play like Traveler. They will on occasion, but they always want to go back to the elf games. I wonder if that's a thing. Like, somebody smarter than me, which would be a lot of people really, should do some kind of like poll. I wish like Professor Dungeon Master or somebody who has like a shit ton of subscribers would do a poll by gender or sex, same thing really, to see whose favorite game genres are whom's, like What percentage of female gamers wants to play fantasy versus what percentage of female gamers would rather play future or military, and then vice versa with guys too? That's a fact, Nerdy Ogre. I can attest. And you're talking about Kevin Symbia or whatever, the guy actually made Rivs. He was on either I caught a very old show of Legion of Myth or whatever, or he was on their show like the other day. I'm not sure because, whatever, but yeah. Yeah, the girls at my table, they are so interested in the setting, the world, NPCs, interacting with each other in character, making deals, like, role playing. They want to play their character and they want to interact with the world. The guys at my table, for the most part, are exactly the same because I've got a pretty much, what would you call it? I've got a pretty well curated table at this point, full of people I've been gaming with for decades, some of them. But in general, in my life, yeah, if you're going to run into a group full of murder hobos, and I think there's nothing wrong with that, and people who think there is something wrong with that, there's something wrong with you. If the DM and the party wants to spend 4, 10, 12, 20 hours a day rolling dice and mugging orcs, that's nobody's business but theirs. And no one should be judging them because that's what they want to do with their lives. So get over it. Yeah, yeah. Um, well, here's one thing about the ladies I've noticed. There's a couple of kind of female players, right? There's a kind of female player who actually honestly is interested in playing the game. And they tend to be somewhat nerdish, bookish young ladies that loved Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and shit like that. And then there's the young ladies that just show up because their boyfriend loves playing the game. And those ones can be hit or miss either way. I mean, sometimes they get into it and they evolve into their very own special little butterfly role players and they're awesome. Or they just sit there kind of tolerating their boyfriend's nerd freaking hobby because they're good girlfriends and they're like, yeah, it's a couple hours a week and he's good to me the rest of the time. So I'll just do this. Unless on the very rare occasion you run into a girl that just like kind of hates her boyfriend doing anything without her, they can be a problem. But I've only ever even heard of that one or two times. Like the really possessive girlfriend that has to show up to the D&D game and insists on playing, and it's not because she actually even wants to be there. She's just there to babysit her boyfriend or something. Yeah, you don't want that. And I'm sure, well, okay, it doesn't go the other way so much in role playing because let's be honest, for the most part, role playing games are boy shit. They really are. And that's not saying there aren't women who absolutely love the role playing games. I know many. But in general, if you ask everybody, okay, who wants to pretend they're like Aragorn and they're running around killing orcs and shit, that's going to be a guy thing. I mean, it really is. You know. So, but yeah, the ladies at my table, they are by far, and I'm not even saying this because, I'm trying to suck up and plus I'm married to one of them. But by far, they are the best role players at the table, like 100% of the time, you know. Uh, and then some of the guys are really, really good too. I mean, like my brother, he is a good player for me, even though some of you might have heard other DMs complain about him. But the reason he's such a good player for me is because I'm his brother. and I know how to threaten him to make him stay in line. And that's basically, I threaten to call mom, you know. But if he doesn't really know you and you're like a country away or something, I mean, don't be surprised if one day he just rolls in and he starts acting super chaotic, because he can do that. I mean, we all go through things, we all do stuff, you know. But yeah, so he's great at my table because I know how to rein him in if he starts getting like getting off the reservation a little bit, as they say. You've ran into every negative player type. Do you live in Toledo or Toronto? I mean, or something? I mean, what is going on up there with you? Like, you're in the middle of Toronto, just being overrun by like Francophiles that hate Anglophiles and like every other negative thing that a Canadian can possibly run into. I mean, I'm smiling, but I'm honestly not laughing at you. I'm like, damn, bro, that sucks. And I'm sorry you got to deal with that. Quantic Foundry, 250,000 gamers on their motivations. 250,000 people. That is, I would say, an incredibly good uh, sample size. Quebec. Okay. All right. And yes, that exactly. Man. Uh, See, I've got people at my table that actually, well, they're not Francophiles, but their native language is Spanish. And I don't know. It's like no one. It's I don't know. No one gives a shit. That is the strong point of most good Americans, is our lack of giving a shit about. Or maybe it's just Gen X. I'm a Gen Xer, and for whatever reason, we were born with a pure lack of giving a shit about most anything, unless it directly somehow F's with us, right? So it's like, yeah, I mean, like, it's like nothing bothers us. We used to run around. I won't get into the whole Gen X thing, but yeah, I mean, you know, our upbringing was like the freaking Kurgan. We were basically thrown to the wild dogs. And, you know, you either survived or you didn't, right? Like the bad guy in Highlander. And once you go through that, you get to a point where you're just like, most shit just does not bother you. Age matters more. I would believe that. I actually 100% believe that. Yeah, I totally get that. Nerdy Ogre, I think you're 100% right with that. Facts. I would call that facts. I mean, I would never call you a liar anyway. I always believe what my, like anyone who talks to me, I always believe you unless I catch you being shady, and then I stop being quite as believing. But until you lie to me, why would you? I always assume, like, why would you lie? I mean, no one's got time for that shit. So, you know, so I get that. Like, I actually, only when she got much older, she was in her 60s, my mom started joining my D&D group, mainly because my mom and my wife are like best friends, you know, like they go doing all their little lady stuff together, you know, Bell's outlets and whatever. She would never play role playing games with me until I'm 40 something. She's 60 something, and she's a role player too, you know, like at first she was the quiet player that just kind of hung out and waited to see what was going on. But when she got comfortable, she actually, and she's a weeb too. No matter what setting we're playing, she always wanted to play like some silver-haired female samurai you know, with a katana, and she'd always go online and basically take the art from like a Legend of the Five Rings Crane Clan duelist character and then use that as whatever game we're playing. She's always that, and I'd let her because why not? Yeah. Misreads his sheet to make himself worse, and yet is You know, there's such a thing in Russian culture, anyway, that we talk about called a fool for God. And it's basically a person who's not very smart at all, and yet things just work out. And I mean someone with like a 60 IQ, but they're really good hearted and everything just tends to work out because, you know, because apparently God likes a fool if he's a good hearted fool. You ain't got to be a genius. You just got to be good hearted, you know? So, L5R on the bucket list of games, George, you will not do wrong if you can get a group to play that. I prefer first edition because I'm an old crusty bastard and that's nostalgia bait for me. I do not like the latest one because I don't like the proprietary dice, but the frickin' books are beautiful. So they're almost worth owning just because of how beautiful they are. Fourth edition, I own. And the problem with fourth edition is one of the guys was saying if you go online and you try to find a lot of the fourth edition books, it's just exorbitant. Like the prices are just not even fair. So, you know. And then the third edition is just third edition D&D. So if you like third edition D&D, third edition L5R could be your shit. But first edition L5R, that's the true essence of, as they say, a samurai lives 3 feet away from death. And that is because the blade of a katana is generally about 36 inches long and razor sharp. And if you're not wearing a lot of armor and shit, that thing will cut you in half. And no, I'm not some weeb that thinks the katana is a super sword. I know that it's not. Your average Middle Eastern or European hand weapons were in every way superior in metallurgy than a katana. But when you're wearing silk robes and some dude comes up at you with a sword that literally is a razor blade, shit's not going to go well for you, you know. And the way L5R works is if somebody hits you and they roll good and the dice explode, you're dead. Just, you know, sorry. You've got like 10 wound levels and they can just whack that shit. Just boom, done. So, yeah, I learned the hard way many times. If you're playing Lion Clan and you're really good at Kendo, as they say, which is like just fighting warrior shit, and some dude in light blue rolls up looking all saucy and starts talking shit, you're probably getting ready to die because he's going to challenge you to a jitsu duel. You are going to have to accept it because your honor will not let you refuse. And then he's going to one-shot you right into the next world. And that'll be the end of that Akado clan tactician you love so much. Roll something else. Yeah, that's true. That's Nerdy Ogre. You're the first one I've ever heard even say something like that. It's kind of brilliant. Even Murphy's Law is subject to Murphy's Law. That's I'm going to remember that. I might even send that to my mom. I might be like, hey, did you know that even Murphy's Law is subject to Murphy's Law? She'll get a kick out of that. So the guy who misreads his character is smart. Maybe he is, and I can only speculate. Possibly he is like screwing himself over just because he doesn't feel like whatever he's doing is a challenge. Except even though he's kind of, you know, sabotaging himself, he just keeps living. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's possible. Let's be honest. When you're a DM and you deal with tons and tons of players, you will run into some wild dudes. I mean, it is what it is. You might even become their best friends. That don't mean though that they're not pretty wild. And gamers tend to be the wildest of the wild dudes when it comes to like just being eccentric, doing weird little stuff, and you're just like, but why? You know, because who knows? I mean, who even knows? He yearns for the challenge. I totally can understand why he might feel that way, honestly, without even trying to make any sort of judgment on the game he's currently playing. I can still totally get it. It's like, because I'm driven by nostalgia like crazy. uh, I've talked about this. I am aware that the Beckme set was the best set of basic D&D. I know for a fact it was. But for whatever reason, I love the Mold They Cook set way more. And it's just nostalgia. I know that. Three things that make a blade deadly: quality of the craftsmanship, type of blade you're using, yeah, the ability of the person wielding the blade. Right. And the thing is even though katana were made from the shittiest metal you possibly could find anywhere on the planet, uh, the shape of it and the edge on it, combined with the fact that these guys spent all this time just practicing that swing, right, meant that if you weren't wearing really good armor, it's going to cut you in half. Now, in actual combat, if you really look into it, samurai, generally speaking, in the early periods, used the yari, and they used bows like the yumi and the dakyo. They almost never used the katana in actual battle. It was like a backup weapon. And also, they would never try to block an attack with the blade of the katana if they could at all help it, because it was pretty much a guaranteed you're getting ready, somebody's blade's getting ready to break. It is a historical fact that a lot of wakizashi that noble samurai would carry were forged from blades that had at one time been katana and got snapped, because the side effect of Japanese steel is it was brittle. It was very brittle because of the high silicon content. They never had iron mines like in the Middle East and Europe. They just never had it. They didn't have crucible uh, forging, none of that shit. People, because they watch Highlander and ninja movies, they think that the Japanese folding that blade 100 times made the blade stronger. The reason they folded the blade was to get rid of the impurities. And even if they folded that bitch 100 times, there's still going to be impurities in it. Whereas, like in Anatolia, Syria, parts of Europe, they were digging like the best quality iron out of the ground, and then cauldron forging that shit into basically 440 steel back in the like Viking age. You had some of these what they in their day thought were like magic swords. They weren't magic. It's just they were high tensile, high carbon steel blades. And so they were like, holy shit, this sword can cut right through a shield. Of course it can. It's made out of like the highest quality steel you could possibly get in that era. And yeah, so that's why you see like European fencers take their freaking their rapiers and shit and bend them, and then they snap right back to true. And just, I mean, yeah, Japanese could never do that. If you were to take a katana and put it over your knee and bend it, that shit would snap like an actual traditional one. Now you can buy katana that are made with modern 440 steel, and they're just as good as any other modern blade. Yeah, they had to find a workaround to deal with the fact that they had no iron unless they imported it. All they had was the red sand, which is iron sand, and that shit was at least 50% silicone and various other bullshit. So they're like, well, we got to do something, and they figured it out, and that's awesome. But when it comes to fighting armored men, the yari, which is just a spear with a freaking iron point on that bitch, run up and blink, and it'll go right through the armor and right into the gadgets, and you'll bleed out, and that'll just be that for you. Yeah, borax is good. I don't know if the Japanese steelworkers, like way back in the day, even had borax. I don't even know if the Europeans did. But I mean, think about shit, right? Like in Syria, they were making Damascus steel or Damascene, some people call it, and we may have been able to replicate it, but we don't even know if we did. We kind of think we did, but we don't know if we did. And then the Chinese, they had their own forging, uh, ways where they could produce like blades that were like razor sharp and would not rust for 2,000 years. Like the Green Dragon blade, which is a real blade in their museum. That is just however they made it. That shit is like a +5 sword. And then the poor Japanese who originally used long swords, like the Chinese longsword, they had to turn it into a curve because the curved blade was a lot less likely to break if it went into any sort of resistance because it would slide. Plus, curved blades cut better. And with the Japanese later period, it's all about the cut. Whereas, to be honest, most European blades were almost bludgeoning items. I mean, they had an edge on them. Yeah, they could cut, but let's be serious. They were just whacking the shit out of you because you're wearing steel armor, something that the Japanese, again, didn't have a lot of access to until they started trading for breastplates and shit like that from the Portuguese. But no, a lot of people like to say the Japanese wore bamboo armor. No, they wore a kind of like lamellar armor. They could only really make little squares of steel easily enough. So they'd make like 100 little squares of steel and then they'd rivet it all in and layer it and stuff. So Japanese samurai armor, the heavy stuff, was not bad armor at all compared to chainmail or anything else. It was not bad armor. Um, Unfortunately, though, if you've got a little bitty sticky, it'll go right in between that steel plating, but it would do the same against a guy in a full metal hauberk too. I mean, it'd just go right in there, and that'd be the end of your ass right there too. But yeah, the only thing I know about forging for real nerdy ogre is I've watched a shit ton of forged in fire competitions because it's interesting. And it was cool. Yeah. I know they used lacquered leather with steel, and a lot of times their most armored places would be like the head and their forearms would be super armored because I guess so they'd have like almost lamlar and chainmail and all kinds of stuff on the forearms and the mempo, and then of course their helmets, were really well made. And then not all of them, but a lot of them would wear those big shoulder things. I don't even know what they're called. Like, in Europe, we call them pauldrons, but the Japanese ones were designed to make blades skate off. Uh, it is interesting I guess this counts as talking about role-playing stuff. It is interesting how different cultures and peoples, given different tools and materials, will still find a way to effectively kill each other, one way or another. It is going to happen. Yeah, it was. You're right, Jack. You're totally right. And that's the thing. Like in D&D, you got like 3 or 4 types of sword, whereas in Europe, depending on the era, you could have short swords and stabbing swords and schlagers and flamberges and great swords and hand and a half swords and freaking even swords that weren't really supposed to be swords, like grossmessers, which could go anywhere from a one-handed to a big freaking two-handed thing. And that's before you even started getting into like the stabby swords. I'm talking back when it was mostly slashy swords that could stab. And then when they decided gunpowder defeated armor, everybody got into the really light stabby swords. Arrow protection makes total sense to me. Yeah. Samurai didn't wear shields, but Ashigara sometimes would. I've always thought that is an interesting thing, because heaven knows in Europe, during like 90% of the era, If you could have a shield, you did. Even in the gunpowder era, a lot of duelists would have strap-on metal bucklers and shit. I mean, if you could have it, you would do it. Boken. I don't know. I thought a boken was like a big staff. I could be wrong though. I know there's a lot of weird weapons that come from like Okinawa, and they were designed specifically from farm implements so that peasants could protect themselves from drunk samurai, is what I read. I don't know if that's true. See, and now I'm so freaking ruined, Jack, that when somebody mentions the word pauldron, even if it's me, the first thing I think about is like Space Marines, you know, big freaking pauldrons, and painting 100 of them white and black checkered with little red hearts in the middle because apparently I'm a masochist and I like pain. Yep. And yet, like I said, Jack, every tribe, culture, whatever, did manage to figure out how to kill each other pretty effectively, regardless of what they had. Even the Maori, who didn't even have metal, found a way to take really, really hard wood, harden it even further, and then murder the shit out of each other, the Polynesians. So, one thing humans can do is figure out a way to kill each other. I smell it. It smells amazing. I'm sure you're eating it already. I'd imagine they were. My wife made homemade banana nut muffins. She does that. Did you put the cranberries in them? Oh, nice. I like the cranberries. Plus, it's healthy. The cranberries are. The rest of it probably isn't, but So I know what I'll have for breakfast tomorrow. I'll have a banana nut muffin and a nice glass of coffee.
We have a lot of cranberries left, but we have some with peanut butter and chocolate chips, and then some cranberry walnut.
Yeah, I don't like the peanut butter ones at all. I'm good.
Those are not for you.
Yeah, but you know what? Japanese castles are freaking amazing. If you ever look at the way they practically made a homemade hill and then built the castle on top of the hill. And in order to get to the castle, you had to run down narrow staircases up to the castle, which meant anyone defending this thing could just light you up with any sort of ranged weapons and stuff. I mean, yeah, the Japanese, the way they designed their fortifications are actually pretty amazing. Pretty, Oh, yeah, the boken, wooden swords. You're right. Yeah, it's what they train with, boken. And they still do. In the modern day, there's still like you can go and join clubs where they teach kendo, I think it's called, and they use boken and they wear the faceplate and they go to town on each other, those guys. Yes, that's Maramoto Musashi. The story is, if you want to believe it, is he woke up drunk and then ran from the tavern where he'd been up drinking all night and rode himself to the little island because if you're going to have a proper Ajitsu duel, the scenery had to be beautiful. That was part of it. And so he rode across the island and realized he didn't have a sword. So he took his tanto out and he carved one of the oars down into a makeshift boken and then broke the other dude's neck with it. That's the story I read. Could be total bullshit, but that's also the dude who wrote the Book of Five Rings and supposedly killed 90-something guys in a duel. Probably the number 2 swordsman of all time after William Marshall, I believe. And William Marshall was the Norman guy that won like 300 plus duels. I mean, he's just an absolute badass, right? And and I'm going to go ahead because I believe in like size and strength being a huge factor in combat. William Marshall was like 6'7", weighed like 280 pounds. I mean, he's a big son of a bitch, right? Fully plated out with his big ass sword. He probably would have killed Maramoto Musashi in a duel. Not because necessarily of skill, but just pure freaking, you don't stick a heavyweight against a lightweight. That's just stupid, because, yeah, that lightweight might land a couple hits, but let's be honest, if the heavyweight lands even one hit, that shit is done. I believe he was a Norman, and I believe now I could be totally wrong. This is what I think from reading. He was like a lesser nobody, and then he ended up becoming like the regent of all of England somehow. And in the movie The Knight's Tale, when what's his name gets the helmet bent to his head and they have to bend the helmet to get it off, that actually is based on something that happened to William Marshall. You know, he was undefeated in the lists. He was undefeated in duels. Uh, However, like I said, to be fair though, he was a giant. And when you're dealing with like physicality like that, the fact that this guy was very much in shape and a giant is going to give him a huge advantage. Don't believe me? Go get yourself some armor, walk out onto the SCA field and find the first 6.5 foot tall dude, challenge him to a fight. See what happens. You might beat him once or twice, but just the odds are he's going to crank you. I was in the SCA and I know it from both sides. Like when I fought, there was a guy named Sir Otto or Odo, the perpetually surprised, we called him because his eyes were always like super wide open. That dude was like 6'7". I mean, he had reach, he was strong. I mean, just hard to fight that guy, and he's really good. But at my prime, I'm 6'1" and weighed 230 pounds. So if I ran up on a guy who's 5'6", and I've got a blade with a 30 or a sword with a 36-inch blade, and his sword's got like 20-something-inch blade. Again, it's just the reach and the strength differential makes a huge difference. And so Gary Gygax, when he gave high strength people like a bonus to damage, he was 100% dead on. Now, in L5R, they do it a little bit more eloquently, let's say, in that your ability to hit your opponent is actually based on your reflexes, like your dexterity, right? But the ability to damage a dude is based on strength. I really like that. That makes a lot of sense. However, some weapons, like one of you guys mentioned, the good old Tetsubo, the iron staff, because that's what that means. Tetsubo is iron staff. I think that one is just a pure strength weapon. You just freaking. And in L5R, the Crab Clan, for whatever reason, they love hammers and staves. It's Tetsubo. It's like their whole deal. They just want to crush you. But then again, in L5R, the Crab Clan get bonuses to strength. They're big son of a bitches. Like almost every Crab Clan guy is like 6 foot tall. And that's in an empire where the average height is like 5'4" for a man. And then you got these Hida samurai walking around 6+ feet tall, 200 pounds with a Tetsubo. It's like, yeah, shoot that guy with a bow, because if he runs up on you, you're going to be in trouble. Yeah, that's a problem. See, if you don't have long enough arms to do actual fencing, like rapier fencing, you can try kendo, and you can try like fencing with schlagers, as they call it, saber fencing. And you might do a lot better because there's a lot less of that lunging, whatever. But I mean, reach is always going to be a thing in any sort of martial combat, hand to hand thing. A guy that's got 6 inches of reach on you, that means you have to get through that buffer zone to even hit him, but he can already hit you. And, that's an issue. Now, you can deal with it. There's a way to deal with it. Even in the SCA, there's a way to deal with it. And the way you deal with it is you get in a shield wall with freaking pikes. And then no matter how, you can be 4 foot tall. If you've got an 8 or 9 foot pike and you're surrounded by other guys with pikes, all of a sudden it's like, okay, the big guy's going to be like, it takes away the big guy's reach advantage when you've got 12-foot pike. So the ability to hit a target based on that's how L5R does it. I don't know how like Palladium Fantasy does it, I bought the book, I read it, I liked it, I gave it to a friend who really wanted to play it, and I knew I was never really going to run it. So, and the book was cheap too. I was watching like Legion of Myth, and what's his name, Simbeta or whatever was on, and he pointed out, right now at our store we're selling the second edition of the Palladium Fantasy role playing game for like, I don't know, I think it was $19 for hardbound. And I was like, well, I'm going to do that if for no other reason. Curious, bought it, read it, thought, yeah, that's a pretty good game. It's not bad. It's not for me necessarily, but it's a good game. But another person I know, they were like, oh, I'd love to play that. So I was just like, whoop, there you go. The big guy with the big bow. Well, that's the British, right? Like old bartender I worked with had arms like, yeah, and he was a boxer, yeah, right? You know, because think about it. He's got that reach. That's why when you watch boxing, one of the stats they always tell you is reach. It's like height, weight, reach. Because some guy's got 50 something inch reach and another guy's got like a 36-inch reach. That's going to be a bad situation. I don't know if that's ever happened, but we're just talking game related type shit here. Yeah, I never boxed. I studied Kempo karate, which is all about getting as close to your opponent as possible. Preferably you want to block until you can get within their guard, and then like basically take them apart with elbows and knees. Things that are really short. Plus, something about physics, you can punch somebody, and then you can elbow somebody, and because the elbow like has something to do with making a big circle a little circle multiplies the power generated. So I mean, what I just said is like the most simple, stupid explanation of what Kempo karate is, but that is what it is. You want to get right up on his ass so that he can't punch you too well because you're right there, and you want to elbow him inside the head as hard as you can. And if it works out right, and there's no telling it will, because like everything, Murphy's Law can pop up and kick you right in your nuts. But if it works the way you train for it to work, yeah, you'll knock him slap out. If you land a good elbow on the side of somebody's head, a lot of times that'll be the end of the fight. Just pow. So, Happy Jack's RPG podcast had an actual play L5R. Nice. Yeah, I have tried, George, to get my group to play L5R, and it's the ladies again. And you would think playing beautiful Samurai Co., Unicorn, Crane Clan, whatever, Scorpion Clan, and run around doing like cool, amazing, super flaming katana ninja shit would be super exciting. It's not. For them. A lot of the dudes would play it in a second. Like Hungar would bust. Hungar used to play a Hida clan, Crab, Hida family, samurai. When we played L5R, I played a Kato tactician. He played the Hida clan samurai guy, or I keep saying Hida clan, it's family, Crab clan. And man, we had so much fun, but I rolled a lot of characters for that game. I sure did. I mean, the good news is first edition L5R making a character is like super easy. It is like dead easy to do. Ran a good Dead Rain game. Happy Jack. I need to check out whoever in the hell Happy Jack is. I've never heard of this guy. But if he's doing good L5R podcasts, you have my interest. I am an L5R maniac. I mean, I've showed you guys. I have that whole top shelf up there is Samurai. And then because I also played the war game, Clan Wars, I think it was called, which was the L5R war game. Where is my boy? And I show this guy off every now and then. This is like the most OP bastard ever. Not in the war game, but definitely in the card game for his era. Yeah, that's your Tomo, the half commie leader of the Mantis clan. And yes, this figure is in scale with like 28 mil. So let me see a 28 mil figure to put next to him. So apparently your Tomo was the offspring of the kami, which is the spirit or god of thunder and storms, and I believe a crab clan samurai ko or samurai. And then he went on to be the leader of the Mantis clan, which was a minor clan that ruled the islands of Silk and Spice, right? I mean, look at this guy. He's using a weapon that samurai aren't even supposed to use. Samurai are not supposed to use this thing. But are you going to tell the dude that's like 10 feet tall he can't use that shit? Yeah, right. Yeah. He'll let you know he can and then split your wig for it. But my Lion Clan guy's up there, and he's actually using. This is my actual Lion Clan samurai, except somehow I broke his back banner off, and I haven't been able to find it. So you can see how on his back there's that metal hole where the back banner used to be. And he's using. One of you guys can tell me whatever the hell that even is. It's basically like a sword, except it's got a really long handle. And then on his belt, you can see he's got his katana and his wakizashi, which are, signs of his rank. He is a samurai, and he's wearing the heavy samurai armor. So you can see how he's got like the shoulder panels and the mimpo and the good helmet. Traveler 2300, I love that game. That's a game that one of these days, I swear, I'm going to convince my group to play. I just bought part 1 and part 2 of the K for Invasion adventure line, and I'm just waiting for War Games Atlantic to finally release miniatures for the K for. They said like 6 months ago they were working on it, so I'm over here being like, well, let's do it then. Yeah, but that was the miniature I used, even though we didn't even use miniatures when we played. But that was the miniature I used back in the 90s when I put up 5R. And like I said, his whatever that's called, it might be a Nodachi of some type. I don't know. I would have to get my L5R book out and look. Well, see, now I'm going to brag, guys. Now I'm going to brag. That's right. That is my 100% beautiful mint 4th edition L5R core book, which somebody told me was super hard to get these days. So I don't mean to brag and make anyone envious, but yeah, of course I got this shit. I got this shit 20 years ago when it came out. This is the kind of character my mom always played. Not exactly this one, but a Crane Clan Samurai Co of some sort. So let's see. We got the clans, statuses. Okay, what kind of weapons in here? One thing about these books is generally when it tells you about the weapons, it gives you pictures, and that's really cool. I really like how they actually show you what in the hell you're using. So let's see. No, it's not a chain weapon. It's not a ninjutsu weapon for sure. Nagamaki is basically a sword blade attached to a short wooden pole. So it could be a Nagamaki designed to be a lighter weapon wielded in one hand. No, it's not that, because what my character used is definitely two-handed. So let's go to the next thing you guys talked about. Where was it? I know I've seen it. Ninjato, Katana, Tonfa, Nadachi, non-Nadachi. Senka, no. Not a Yari, Naga Yari, a Javelin, no. Kamadi, Sotogami. That's a man catcher. Maybe I don't know. It's some kind of weird form of Nodachi or a Now I know when I played the role playing or the card game, my boy Matsugoi, He used a trident. That was his thing. You know, like you always see the picture of Matsugo and he's got that trident. Tamagotchi, maybe. Yeah. Then you got all the bows. Heavy weapons. Is it a heavy weapon? No, it's not the Warhammer. It's not the axe. It's not Tetsubo. Bah. I'm going to put the 4th edition book up. And if I can see the 1st edition book somewhere in here. Because I think the 1st edition book actually might have had more a more exhaustive list of weapons. Let me look. So no. That's all Free League stuff down there. Call of Cthulhu. Okay, all my traveler and freaking Deadland stuff. Okay, where is it then? Did I put it in one of the other things? I don't think so. These are my Gordon the Rogue books. I've got all of them. There's more than just this 3, but I think these 3. Let me look. 2 or 3 of these are signed. Yeah, see. Again, you know how us nerds, we like to show stuff off. So, yeah, your Gygax. Got a picture of the guy on the back too. Look at that. You know he was a Marine. He joined the Marine Corps, and then he got like really sick, like pneumonia or something, and they let him out or forced him out. I don't know how he felt about it. He might have been pissed off that they made him leave. So, yeah, this one is not signed, but interestingly enough, it's got a map of Greyhawk City in it. Yeah, it just could be a Naginata, Jack. You're right. So, and it's got like the map of Greyhawk City in here has you see the key. So it lets you know what every single district is in Greyhawk City. So you've got like the Beggar's Quarter, the Citadel, Clerksburg, Craftsman's Ward, all of that stuff. You got the different wards and then specific areas that are like important. So it's not down here, unfortunately. Is this one of the signed ones? Nope, this is not one of the signed ones either, apparently. But it does have a map of the region around Greyhawk from Perrinland all the way down to the Principalities of Ulick. And when I used to play in Greyhawk, this was the region I always played in. The Ulick states, Keelland, and the county, Principality, and Duchy of Ulick. They call it the Sheldamar Valley. Going to Bell, so am I, in a few moments. I was hoping I could find my freaking thing, but it looks like that I'm not going to, and that sucks. Because I know for a fact in my 1st edition book, it had like a bunch more weapons than in the 4th edition book. Stay up there, guys. Let's not get crazy now. The first shelf of this is almost entirely, not that any of you may really care that much, but it's almost entirely Conan 2.20. I own everything they put in print for this. I love this game. The ladies at the table, not having it. Because Conan is boy stuff, and they don't want to play boy stuff. And that is a thing, isn't it? So I must have moved the 1st edition book to one of the other cabinets. And that is unfortunate because I'm not going to get up and dig around for it. But yeah, it's a Nagamaki or something like that. And you know, it's just what my character liked. Here's my original Traveler book. This thing, I think if I look at the print on the inside, this was printed in 1982. Can you believe that? Still got it. Still kept it. And then the things that fell out, if you're wondering, are my Twilight 2000 Player's Manual and Referee's Manual. Because what I did is when I kickstarted Twilight 2000, I kickstarted 2-box sets and then extra books. Because I was having all these dreams in my head of all of my players happily sitting around singing Kumbaya playing Twilight 2000. So I thought I definitely better get enough books for everybody, right? So that no one would have to wait to like look at a book. And then my players are like, yeah, there's no way in hell we're ever playing that. And I was like, well, okay. And that is pretty much the whole story of how I wasted a bunch of money on Twilight 2000. Yeah, Traveler 2300 is my favorite Traveler. People just don't even understand. They just don't even understand. Now this, and one day I need to actually get the poster that'll fit this. And this is the last thing I'm going to show you, and I'm just going to, this is the Greyhawk map from the Dragon magazine or whatever, the 4-part one that's really huge. That's what this is. And I refuse to hang it up until I find the right size poster thing so that I can actually protect it. But yeah, I must definitely put it up because I do a lot of cleaning and then racking in here. It's like the constant cycle of my life. I totally wreck my room and then I clean it and then I wreck it and then I clean it. And I do that over and over again. But I had these next to me currently because I was looking stuff up is what was happening. So yeah. It's been a couple hours. I'm going to probably go to bed. And I will wish you all peace and all of that. And I hope that maybe I'll see you on Double D's show tomorrow. But if not, I mean, adios amigos, Veo con Dios, and das vidania, good night, goodbye, auf Wiedersehen, and all that. So there you go. Yeah. I will answer that, Jack. The Hyperborean books, the art it's not as pretty as L5R art, which is just absolutely amazing, but it is very evocative. That's the word I think fancy people use to mean like when you look at the art, it might not be the most like technically awesome art, but it makes your brain just start freaking churning. So I will show you one, right? In the forefront, you've got your hot witch working on some kind of potion, but look at her shadow in the back. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of stuff that this. So as soon as you look at it, you're like, oh, she's a hot young chick. And then you see the shadow and you're like, so your brain is all of a sudden like, what is going on here? You know what I'm saying? Like, this gives me ideas for adventures. And then Thaumagoraga. Thaumagoraga. He is the deity of evil. He's associated with Hades, demons, torture, slavery, violence, war, bloodshed, etc., etc., etc. But the book will tell you that Thaumagoraga is in fact Ares, the god of war from um, Greek mythology. And for some reason on Hyperborea, he decided to go by a different name. And then amongst the Celtic people of Hyperborea, they sometimes believe him to be Cernunnos, but he's not actually Cernunnos. But they think he is, because that's how religion works in this typical followers, any but especially Celts, Romans, and death soldiers, which a death soldier is a warlock who's a fighter, necromancer. So one of my favorite classes, actually. And then Crom, but here he's called Crimmer, but it's Crom. He's a gigantic bearded warrior, massive thews, eyes that bleed lava, and the Cimmerians often use his name as an expletive. So just like Conan, you know, something goes wrong and they're like, instead of Conan being Crom, Cimmerians in Hyperborea would say Crimir, you know, but yeah, same person. But yeah, if you've never looked at it, Jack, like I know you can't read it, but I'm showing you this. Like the first god they mention is Apollo, and the second is Artemis. I mean, there are quite a few Greek Helios, you know, Boreas. There are quite a few Greek gods intermixed in with, like, you know, Cthulhu and Azathoth, you know, Lunaqua, Mordazan, the neutral god of death, and then the Raven, who is actually, some people think, the Mu refer to Raven as Anansi, so, which doesn't make a lot of sense since Anansi was the spider god of East or West Africa. But the other secret is that Raven may in fact be Odin. And then, of course, you've got Ro, the god of thieves, and his holy symbol is winged slippers. So you already know who that is, and it even tells you, you know, Rel is Hermes, but the Celts call him Tuatates. And there's a lot of that in here, you know, and that's why I like it so much, is because it's like, even with the religion, Janet, what's up? I was just getting ready to leave, but I can always stay for 5 minutes to say hi, Janet. Emer, Aller, Thor, Yunde is either, depends on who you talk. Well, okay. Yunde is also known as Sibyl, which was the Phrygian mother goddess, sometimes known as Demeter, the Greek goddess, which means if she's Sibyl and Demeter, she's Lilith in the Babylonian. And also, if you want the Lovecraft thing on it, Yonde is the black goat with 1,000 young. Then you've got Ithaquah, the Wendigo. You know who that is if you ever read any Lovecraft or Conan. It's a giant freaking Wendigo that wanders around killing everybody. And Yug. Yag, or Yag, is the deity of chaos associated with darkness, cannibalism, slimes and jellies, fungus, etc., etc., etc. Mostly worshipped by Eskimo Ixians and the Mu. So, cool. And the gods that come in this book, you could add any other gods you want to it too, you know. So, like, if I were to make a character who is a Roman soldier, I would probably say that my character worships Solid Victus. And of course, that's just the victorious sun, right? Helios, really in the Greek. But so, how you doing, Janet? You're up late. I'm up late. I'm getting ready to leave, but I did want to say hello. I did watch your video the other day. I did watch quite a bit of you and Brucey Bruce talking about what was it? The nun who hired Clint Eastwood to help overthrow the Mexican government. What's the name of that damn movie? Not one of my favorites. No, you were watching Kelly's Heroes the other day. Yeah, Mithras, Saul. You could throw any of those in and just be like, whatever. If you're playing a Celtic character, throw Nodens in. It's from Lovecraft, but it's actually a Celtic sea god. And it's just like you could say, my character worships Nodens. You know, I mean, honestly, at some point, if Jeffrey Talanian is smart, he might pull an AD&D and come out with the deities and demigods just for Hyperborea. He could do that. He could make a whole book just as big as this, just full of the tons of gods that could exist. I mean, this book itself, when you look at the character races, I mean, look at that. There's probably 30 races here you can play on these 2 pages, and it just keeps going, right? Between the Thingic, the Romans, Yakuts, Vikings, Mu, Lemurians, Cimmerians, Celts, etc., etc., etc. Oh, you had your show. That must be why I only had a couple of the bros over here, because all the people with good taste were watching your show. That makes sense. If I'd known it was on, yeah. So I don't know, man. I've got his email. I might email him and be like, hey, the next thing he's working on is an actual setting book that's going to have the map from the atlas, but then is going to actually explain the points of interest, like in the back of the referee book. So people will be able to actually buy the setting book, even if they don't buy any other books, and then read it and see the map and be like, oh, so that's what the hell was going on, right? Like the Gibbering Fields, the Isle of the Ape Men, the Isle of Ghoul, the Lizard Coast, the Plateau of Ling, Ix, right? Because there's a lot of information back here about all the different stuff that's going on. But the Atlas, which I do love, don't get me wrong, I love the Atlas. But the problem is the Atlas doesn't give you any information. It's literally just a giant map. Too many different systems, classes. This is a cool image. It's a female cleric who obviously worships Azathoth. And you can see how the pipers and drummers are dancing around. And she's actually somehow opened a portal directly to the nuclear chaos at the center of the universe. She's got kind of a nice behind, too. I like that the artists in this book did not go out of their way to make the females unattractive. I mean, I'm not saying they're like so out of hand that like, I mean, this is a really good sketch. It's a woman, but she's fully armored. She's not just standing around in underwear, you know. But at the same time, they didn't go out of their way to make them unattractive. I don't like that. That's the reason I got rid of my Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition stuff. It's not that the game is terrible. It's that they went out of their way to make every woman in that game unattractive. And it turns out that the women I game with, they like attractive characters. I know that the people who make those ultra whatever games don't want to believe it because the people they're talking to all have septum rings or some shit. But actual real women, the kind that like men and stuff, they want their characters to be pretty. They do not want to play an overweight purple-haired maniac. That is not who they want to be. And these guys did a pretty good job of keeping the women attractive, but not overly gratuitous, let's say. Is that a green filter or do I pink? Oh, Janet. Janet does a lot of stuff. Janet does a lot of stuff. with cosplaying and stuff. So if you have not watched Janet's shows or watched Bruce and Janet talk about different movies and stuff, even if I'm on, I would still suggest you go watch that. Um, because I find them way more entertaining than I do myself. And usually the only reason I'm streaming is because I'm out here painting up some, minis. And I figure if I'm sitting in front of the computer painting, I might as well jabber on about whatever's on my mind too. But yeah, Janet and Bruce did Kelly's Heroes, probably one of the best Clint Eastwood movies of all time. However, my favorite Clint Eastwood movie of all time will always be The Outlaw Josie Wells. I can't help it. That's my movie. So if Janet and Bruce have already done it, awesome. And if they haven't done it, I can't wait till they do it because it truly is, in my opinion, it's the first movie Clint Eastwood directed, and it's just chef's kiss. You know what I mean? It is just such a good movie. Just it's serious, but it's funny. The characters are all cool. Like one of my favorite characters in the whole thing is Chief Joseph, the Cherokee guy. Paint and use a filter for eye makeup. Yeah, she also sometimes dresses up like an alien, and it's kind of creepy. And I do not mean that as an insult. I just mean your makeup is really good, and you actually do look like an alien. And it to me, I'm like, dang, girl looks like an alien. But I've said my hellos to Janet. Janet, if you have anything that you need to get in touch with me about, we're on Discord. Tell Bruce when you see him, I miss him. I was talking about that earlier. I was like, where in the hell is my Mr. Lombardo been? Kind of missing that dude, but I know he's busy, so it's all good. And I'm going to chat with the wife for a little bit and probably go to sleep. So for real this time, I said goodbye like 20 minutes ago. You sent me the picture of the Elvira outfit. I refuse to comment, nor have I shared it with anyone. If anyone else wants to see you dressed like Elvira, they can deal with that with you. I'm not sharing that around. I don't want to be that guy. But anywho, she looks like Elvira, guys. Bye.